Kim, it is an absolute pleasure to be talking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. First thing first, I want to check in. How's your day going, man?
It's good. It's good. Right outside my window here is I'm in my bedroom here in Tønsberg, Norway. It's just been crazy wind coming from the north for 2 days, straight days, and I'm having this field outside, and it's just sand. It's like Mad Max. It's sand everywhere. It feels like I'm in Australia or something, different. Yeah.
For those who've never ever been to Norway, I think when you talk about it, you conjure up images of barren wastelands of nothing, then your random house in the middle of nowhere, and that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we live in this country full of, it's got great nature, and always implanted in Norwegian bands music, I think. So in one way or the other,
Of course. It's synonymous. Yeah. It's synonymous with as well with a specific type of music. When it comes to Zeromancer, how do you feel like then you kind of stand out amongst what is a history within Norway of a different style of metal?
Yeah, you're from metal side of things, I know. And I think when Zeromancer is different, there's not many bands in our genre in Norway. It's not a big genre, and the dark industrial genre is not very big at all, but for us it's been doing something that is personal, right, and that feels right for us. And we have been, I'm turning 50 years old in October, and I was brought up with electronic music, what can I say, the dark music in the early 80s. A lot of synths, but also a lot of organic music, and it's just been with us since our childhood years, actually. And we're so old school, It all dates back to when we were youngsters, teenagers. I think that you bring that along throughout your life. That music that was created when you were young, it just stays in your heart, and it's still to this day. I'm a vinyl guy. I go and buy vinyls, and I lost all my vinyls in a fire in an apartment many years ago. So now I'm like kind of, for the last few years I've been trying to recreate my collection, and it's I tend to buy the old stuff, Yeah. What was important then is important now. And for Zeromancer, it's always been our mission is to blend the electronic side of music with the organic side of music, which is not very easy, and at least when we are we're very concerned about the band side of it. The music needs to be alive. We don't want that static feel, since we're dealing with electronics and programming, So we use a lot of analog gear and trying to make things just be really interesting and not dead, Melody is always a very vital side of Zeromancer, and the lyrics are important too. We're trying to. It's hard. I mean, I'm Norwegian, English is not my mother tongue, and trying to write good English, lyrics in a foreign language is very hard. I have to admit. I've been doing it for many years, but I find it very interesting trying to be original. You have to play with words and come up with all these twists and turns, I think, to make it interesting.
Yeah, of course, because whether it be a specific word that might sound and be exactly the same thing, but mean two different things, and those aspects of the English language are, it's when you see it like I do, you kind of forget that out there it is a very complex language for others to learn.
Yeah, it is. That is. There's so many layers, But I'm not sure if you know the old history of Zeromancer, because there wouldn't be a Zeromancer if there wasn't a band called Sigmund. Yeah. That Noralf, Alex, and me in Zeromancer, we used to play, or we're still playing in Sigmund. But we created that band in back in 1989. So we're dinosaurs, you know, and that band lasted 10 years. We had then we had a farewell tour with Simon, and we were just stricken with sadness and despair, and we were terrified that we're not going to do any music anymore. So we were on the ashes of Simon. We created this band Zeromancer, went to Los Angeles, started off a whole new dream, and then eventually we became this band Zeromancer. That's what we talked about in the beginning. It's very different from the Norwegian scene in general, especially the metal scene. But in connection with that, the band Simon, actually, because we were a punk dark act when we started off, and lending getting into the metal scene, and then out of the metal scene into the electronic side of things, and experimenting a lot. But in the early days, 91, 92, 93, a lot of the bands in that black metal scene was actually listening to Simon. So there are some connections here, and we've had a lot of the there's a lot of respect going, you know, between the bands. So I know there's a lot of what do you say, you like or you love a band, but you can't really say it, you know, because it's not really political, right? But we have a lot of the metal people like Zeromancer a lot.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, you want to be true black metal, whatever, so you can't admit that you like an industrial band.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, there's always a crossover. You personally, you've witnessed so many changing stages of the music scene. Not, we're not just talking about rock and metal here, from the 80s through the 90s and stuff like that. How have you, I guess, in your eyes, how have you managed to stay relevant?
Yeah, well, you have to be true to yourself. I mean, and it's not like you're how can I say, we are a band that always feel that we have to fight for things, you know. Nothing comes easy to you. We have to fight for everything, and when we love to battle, we love to have those obstacles, because we like to just, you know, we put our fist up in the air and like, we're gonna fucking do it, you know, like whatever happens, and we stay together, you know, because we're really like, we have this thing with being in a band. It's so important to us. I mean, and as the years go by, it just makes it more and more and more important. And I think to have that, you know, that glow, that fire within, you have the passion for music. And I mean, I go into the studio pretty much every day, and I write stuff down all the time. My head is never ever like at ease, you know. It's constantly something going on. I have chronic migraines. Probably why, you know, but there's always inspiration. I never have a dead moment. So I guess I'm privileged in some way, but it's everything we do, I feel it's a natural thing. And that question about being relevant, I'm not sure. We're just doing what we feel. I mean, but of course there's inspirations everywhere, coming from all parts. I mean, books, movies, going to one concert can change a lot. I mean, listening to one album makes you like, you know, everything changes. And I mean, there's so many, and I think that's what our mission is too. I have said that before, that our most important thing is to inspire other people. And I think that goes for a lot of people too, the other way around, because I get easily inspired by people, you know, not like arts in general. So it's all doing music. You have to think about so much more things than just the music. I mean, there's so much other stuff coming with the music as well. and the art direction especially is really important to me. It's all like a, yeah, and it has to stand in time. So it's important that you take no easy way outs. Then you will pay for it later. And I think and also it's the stayer thing, is that you never give up, and and people get, a lot of musicians that I really don't like, I don't understand what they're doing, or I'm not like, I don't like it, but if they get my approval, or like if they continue doing it, and just it's that never give up thing. I just love that.
Well, it makes sense as well, because of course we are to talk partially about Orchestra of Knives, your new album out the 24th of September 2021. So a little under a month now. Now this has been, for fans, a bit of a long wait. Can you kind of go into depth about what's different this time around, if anything at all? Is there anything particularly different that you think that's meant the 8 years aren't going to be as noticeable?
Well, I think the material for this album was written not too long after the release of Bye Bye Borderline in 2013. There was a best of album coming a year later, and then a new song there called The Underground on that album. And then we started writing the material for Orchestra Knives. And then what happened was that the guitar player in Zeromancer for 15 years since this, he joined us after the Psy 6 album in 2003. His head was messed up. He had too much stuff going on, family, and he couldn't concentrate. And he left the band, and he left us in a bit of a despair. I mean, we're grown old, and getting a new guy into the band. We thought, like, can we manage? I mean, we have so much other projects and so much other things going on. So it was a couple of rough years, and we had, in between here, I've released 2 albums with my solo project called Jungblut. We released an album with Sigmund, our kind of comeback album in 2015. A book with Simon, a vinyl box with Simon, and so it's like we haven't been lazy. There's been things going on that hasn't benefited Zeromancer in any way. So this material actually needed to be put in a box for many years, and then when Per Olav, our new guitar player, a real true metalhead, which maybe is what we needed. He came into the band and freshened things up, and we just it's like almost it was like a real fresh start for us. And when the pandemic situation comes into the picture, it's just, for us, it's been great. So finally we can isolate ourselves, and we can go into the rehearsal studio and don't think about playing the old stuff, rehearse set lists that we can just concentrate on the new songs, So we've had so much time on our hands, and we focused so much better because there's not all these distractions. It's been a terrible time, for throughout the world, and it's been hard here. I mean, I'm family, people are home, and but it's musically, I mean, it's been doing so much music, so there's tons of things coming out with the bands that I'm in. So I think that's I think people listening to this album, it's not a pandemic album, because the stuff were written a long time before, but I think it's an interesting album. I think there's the sonics of this album. It's something that can live on a bit. I think it's not going to be boring, I think.
Did you when you came to working with new guitarists and get back in the studio and putting it together, did you find yourself, like what you had written X amount of years earlier on, did you find yourself changing a lot of things, or is it very much what it was?
No, it was changing a lot, and I think that was the good part, because if we'd done continuing with the material in 2014-15, it would have sounded a lot different. And this guitar player comes in, and he, like, the first single, Dan Le Monde, he came in and said, like, all the material is great, guys. I mean, it's fantastic. And we were like, we were not really sure, you know. And he just said, like, and it's great. Just let us do it. Let's do it all in the rehearsal studio and then record it. And then he actually changed this song, Dan Le Monde. It had a chorus, which was okay, but he actually come up with some new guitars and sent it to me. I go straight out in the studio, have a new chorus ready in a few hours. And it was stuff like that happening. And also, when you're listening to this album, you hear the vocals are so much more upfront in the picture, and we've given Alex a lot more space this time, and we've actually, I mean, I've been playing with this guy for 32 years as a songwriter, and he's a singer, you know, and it takes and it's dawned on me now that, like, maybe I should, like, put some songs up a few notes so he can have a better time singing it, you know. And we've done a lot of things like that, changing the tempo, changing the tones of the songs. And with 2 songs on the album, we actually recorded the songs, and we're sitting in the mixing process and said to ourselves, like, no, fuck this. It's not right. We can do it better. And we had the time to do it. There was no pressure, and it wasn't hard work even. It was just fun. And we just, you know, we were just positive and said, like, okay, it might be 95%, but it's not 100%. So we scratched the whole thing and started over. And that was, you know, and sitting with the album now, it felt so good doing it. So
it's awesome to hear that, because the expectation by some might be, particularly when you talk about being in the music game for so many years, is that you might be a little bit stubborn, a little bit like, no, I want the song this way and that way. So the idea that, you know, as you say, you rewrote and took in this new influence and still learning.
Yeah, of course. And musicians are very uncertain people, you know. You have disbelief all the time. I think all people that are doing art is having these problems, because you feel you're never better than your last release, you know, and it's always, you always doubt. So yeah, but yeah.
Absolutely. I gotta ask them, what do you kind of make of this sort of 80s synthy industrial little bit of revival that we're noticing, particularly in the rock and metal side of things? I don't know how much that you listen to, but you know, there is a little bit of a revival where you're finding people are introducing synth and that 80s kind of sound.
Well, I'm not following the scene, to be honest. I'm not really. I'm very bad at following the contemporary style of music. Might be good, might be not. So when we play all these festivals, especially around Germany, you know, Belgium, and unfortunately not the UK, but you know, there's still time, I hope. But we meet all these people. We meet all these nice people all the time. And all these new bands, but it's strange because, you know, we feel like a lot of the bands are coming from the area where the festivals are. You know, we come down there and there's all hypes going on and we don't understand anything. You know, we feel like we're sitting on the top of this iceberg up here, not, you know, just doing our thing and not have a clue what's going on. So it's a little weird. And yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. We're just so old school. I don't know.
It's hard to keep up as well, because obviously the world we live in these days and the glut of streaming services, YouTube videos and stuff like that. How does Zeromancer cope with that aspect of being a band? Do you even
not good? Not good. We're so old fashioned. Our social media, we're just bad at following up. We have to admit that we like the physical aspects of music. We understand. I mean, it's great. I myself don't have Spotify, but I buy stuff from iTunes and I buy the physical stuff. So we're dinosaur in that aspect as well. So I think we could have gained a lot more momentum and more, get more Mancer heads if we were having the focus on doing more social media, have all those platforms. But we're in that. I think we just I can't cope with it. I just have to do the music. It's enough for me, and people have to discover us through other ways, I think. And it might be a drag. We should have put more effort to it, used more money in having a structure, but I don't know. But
Work.
yeah, it's work, I have to concentrate on other things. I don't have that that time for it.
Yeah, and you got to have the drive for it as well. And the frustrating thing aspect is that you can perhaps learn the tricks of the working the algorithms and stuff like that, and then 2 months later it all changes.
It changes, Yeah. So I mean, turning 50 late this year, I think the time is running out for that kind of work. It's all about making music, and just I like speaking to you guys. I have to admit, doing interviews, speaking with people from the UK, especially, so nice. I wish we were talking about it yesterday. We had a few more interviews from with English, both magazines and radio. And it's so nice, and it's such a drag that we haven't been playing more shows in the UK than we have. So it's very, very high on Zeromancer's list. Come back to the UK and play shows.
Why is that? Do you think? Is it a disconnect on our side in that the audience doesn't really go for industrial?
I'm not sure, because a lot of our fellow artists are going to the UK and do a lot of shows, but I think the shows that we've played in the UK, we've had several shows in London, played a show in Sheffield many years ago. With Simon, we did shows with Paradise Lost ages ago, and it was just amazing shows.
Yeah.
And the feedback was, I mean, we were playing Wolverhampton with Paradise Lost. That was with Simon, and we sold more CDs than Paradise Lost did as a supporting act. And because we have a certain energy on stage. We have it's just, I feel that Zeromancer on stage is something I don't know. We're drained when we go on.
Yeah.
It's just our heads, everything is just like we feel we give everything on stage, and I think we've done shows in the US as well, and I think audience like that they're reacting to that. They understand that, and there's certain respect going. So it's
absolutely, completely understand. Myself and one of the other writers of the site has a sort of mantra, which is, if you look like you're enjoying yourself on stage, it's infectious, and it will spread.
Yeah. And that's why we haven't done any shows during the pandemic, where it's been possible to play shows for less people, sitting on chairs.
Yeah.
And, we're not desperate at all. We're not playing a show until there's a full crowd. So that's for sure. And
Is that coming up? Is that more available in Norway now? Because here in the UK, we're going back in that direction.
Yeah, but you're ahead of us actually in the UK. We're a bit slower here, taking things a little slower. People are telling me, it's opening up, but I'm not so sure. I'm not really believing in it. With Zeromancer, we have nothing booked in 2021, unfortunately. With Simon, we have a few shows in December. I'm not so certain that it's gonna happen for a full crowd.
Right.
So my hopes are not so high, but we'll see. We're really looking forward to come back to the stage, because it has been like for a year and a half now. It hasn't bugged me at all, because we've had time to just be creative, and it's been great. But now I'm kind of feeling it, because releasing an album without supporting it with a tour, it's a real tough thing. And especially this album, we kind of made it for playing live.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard at all to go and rehearse it and be ready. So hopefully next year, that the album is still alive.
I mean, you're not alone in that regards. There are many bands who released an album during the height of the pandemic, the early stages, and still haven't been able to tour it.
Right, yeah. So we're all in the same boat here. Yeah.
For you then, what's the most exciting thing for you personally about Zeromancer that you look at and go, okay, I've got all this other work going on. I'm a busy man, but Zeromancer, this is what's really exciting me at the moment.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you a story about the graphics on this one, on the album, which is a little different. When we started bringing this album up, I go into the studio and look at the demos, and then we start changing it all again. And then I also had the time to go through. I had bunches of suitcases left over from my grandfather, who passed away many years ago, and he was an amateur photographer, and he took, I mean, thousands of photographs of his family and vacations, and in the western part of Norway where he came from, and those pictures or those photographs, they were all slides, and they were given to me as like, Kim, you take responsibility of this. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll keep this, but I don't know when I have the time to go through it. And I had that in the pandemic situation, and I was starting going through all these thousands of slides when working on the album. And then I instantly see that, my God, there's so many golden shots here that would suit the Zeromancer album, but make it even more personal, because it's all my grandfather stuff, taking pictures of my mom and her sister and my uncle, and it gives the whole album a different aspect. And it's a funny thing that yesterday I found out that the front cover of the album is a picture of you see a backhead, the backhead of a person driving a car across a bridge in New York, and the picture is distorted, and it's nothing done with the picture. It's the original shot. It's just a bad shot. But when I was visiting my parents yesterday, they had the CD laying on the table, and they had relatives from where my grandfather's coming from yesterday, and they were telling me, do you know about this photo? They say, like, well, no, I know that my grandfather went to New York with his brother, and they were driving around. Yeah, but he said, like, you know what car they were driving? No, they were driving a hearse. My grandfather's brother, his son was living in Lake Placid at the time. This is the 70s, and he had three Cadillac hearses, the cars for driving to funerals and stuff, So this photo is taken from the back of the hearse, and my grandfather, he's just a funny guy. They had made bunks in the back of this hearse, so they were laying there, and had the curtains still there, and they were drawing the curtains aside when cars are passing and waving to people, like playing dead in the first place. It just struck my mind. It's like, I didn't know about this. It's so much. It makes the cover even more, just gives it a little more depth, I would say.
That's incredible, because I am looking at it right now myself, and without knowing the story, it'd be like, okay, it's an interesting picture.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, it's just, this was told to me yesterday. It's just a great story, and yeah.
You must have a wealth of Zeromancer stories over the X amount of years. Do you ever feel like you want to get them out in a certain way? I'm not saying write a book or whatever, but in some other way, expressive way, to be able to tell people who are, particularly those that potentially have followed Zeromancer from day one.
It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think when you reach that age, when you feel that you no longer can do what you're supposed to do in that manner of fashion that people expect, which might be in a few years. I mean, we're growing old, you know, and we have some health issues, a few of us. And then I think we will have the time to do especially that, because what you're doing when everything is just, you know, ding, 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 you don't have the time to look back, and you don't want to really look back because you want to look ahead.
Yep.
So I think this time is going to come, and there's so many stories to tell. And there's a lot of good ones as well. And I feel like there's some dementia growing here, because there's so much stuff I don't remember. And but Alex, the vocalist in Zeromancer, he remembers it all, and he can retell everything in a much better way than I can. So it's good to have him, but we have to do it before anyone else, you know, if you never know what's gonna happen the next day, do you? So
of course.
but it's gonna happen in one way or the other. I'm telling you. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you said, you know, for now, let's focus on the future. It is Orchestra of Knives, 24th of September. Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, it's been very, very nice talking to you, man.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?